That's John Carville there talking to Graham Crosby, Kevin Waldock and also Neil Allport. It's interesting that Waldock and Crosby will be in a Ford Sierra. It's car 28 starting from number 6 on the grid. And last year, of course, Peter Brock was driving a Ford Sierra. The change back to the Holden Commodore. Good to be back with the king of the V8s again.
It is good to be back in a V8. I must say that I did enjoy racing the Ford Sierra, although a lot of those Holden fans out there might think, oh, this is a shocking statement coming from Brock. But I know that car of Waldock's too, a nice car, and a car that last year had us right up on the grid. But interestingly enough, this year in the Commodore, we're actually going about 1 second a lap faster, so that's evolution, really.
Well, tell us about your practice time yesterday. I mean, I came up to you and you said sensational. I mean, you said you're right, in race trim with race tyres, or was it qualifying conditions?
Well, I went out earlier, and I did put in a hot lap with qualifiers on, and I did a 28.2. And I thought, most drivers will say, look, I could have gone better, I braked a little bit early, I did this, did that. But I felt, well, there was a little bit in it. And I went out later on, we filled the car up with fuel, and I put the race tyres on, and I went out, and the Nissan was on the track fairly close to me, and I thought, I'd better go here, you know, it's a red flag to a bull, really. And I got stuck into it, and I did a 28.9 in race trim. And that's probably as good as anyone's done all week in race trim. Certainly as good as, probably better than the BMs. Now, if I can do a few 28.9s today during the race, gee, people have an awful time catching me, I can tell you.
So what do you think the race times are going to be with the Piros and the Nissans and yourself right up there as well in the actual race conditions?
I mean, just glancing out the window here, it's windy. Surprise, surprise.
Windy Wellington, yeah. Living up to its wonderful reputation.
There's some certain greyness in the sky up there, so there could be some smattering of rain.
So you're talking about memories of 86, was 86, it the wet drive?
Yeah, it was, yeah. And it's very, very, I suppose, cold track conditions. Now, tyre temperatures are always very, very dependent on running at the right, or providing maximum grip if they're in the right sort of tyre temperature. Now today, that suits my car down to the ground. It might suit some of the other cars, but it suits mine. So I'm very happy as long as it sort of sticks around there. If it really pours raining, it's going to mean a pit stop for everyone. But if it just drizzles, my car's going to be looking pretty good, and it could do that.
Well, tell us about the actual driving of the Holden Commodore. We had a couple of great shots last year of the face cam, the in-car with the Ford Sierra. You're talking to David Oxford and telling us exactly what it's like to drive. But look at this year, you're a lot more intense in the Commodore. Why is that? Is it a harder car to drive?
Well, I think too that some of the things that occur there are coming up to slower traffic in a chicane. And you may even be going, whoa, hang on. And you're not too sure if the guy's seen you, he's let you through or whatever. The Commodore does move around a lot more, I guess, than the Sierra. So consequently, you as a driver, I suppose, you are wrestling a little bit more. It's a big car around here, let's face it. It's racing today at 1,400 kilos. It's got 547 brake horsepower. And it is a big physical effort, doesn't it? You are absolutely... Coming into this corner now where you can see I'm turning left, we don't run power steering. We have, and into this next little right-hand bit there, the car is so heavy in that area, it grips the road so much that it feels like it's going to just dig in. If you turn it too much, the car's just going to simply tip over. This area I'm coming up to now, where I'm coming up into 5th gear through this left, right, up pit straight, you've got to be so careful there that you don't get the car out of shape. And into this right-hander where Tony Longhurst hit the wall yesterday morning,
kiss.
You're in a big, wide Commodore, and you've got to get that apex just right. But the amazing thing is you come into the braking area where we're approaching at the moment, and it's, you know, a very tight corner, probably 30 kilometres an hour or something or other. Back to 1st gear, the car stops enormously well. And powering out of there, we can use all the power too. So the car is good in that point, not hard to drive, but you certainly get to those twisty bits up the back of the track, and I can tell you, the G-forces, the arm movements, all of that stuff is very draining. So I'll be looking forward to my rest break and when Larry hops in halfway through.
What about keeping in shape and fitness-wise? Yeah. I mean, do you actually work out a hell of a lot before you come to races?
I don't work out so much because, well, I'll tell you what I do. I have a very good diet, and I make sure that I'm very healthy. And then I find that I'm active, so the fitness sort of follows that. I have a farm. I find that I'm outside doing a lot of farm work all the time. It's just, a lot of it is, say, mechanised, but even so, you're hauling stuff around, you're lifting, you're putting down, you think, gee, I'm a long way ahead of someone who works in an office. To do the same thing, they've physically got to go to a gym and have a regimented routine. I'm lucky, my lifestyle's like, it's that active that I really am a fairly fit sort of person.
Well, there is the Melbourne 47-year-old.
46.
46 now.
Look, I mean, if it would make...
You're not lying about your age, are you?
No, I'll say I'm 47. No, I'm not, no.
That's actually from the scrutineering.
I'm 46.
Arguably Australia's, most publicised racing driver. How do you handle the publicity? No problem?
Do you know, one of the great things about life is that when you're dealing with people, you can take it two ways. You could either be an aggravation, in which case those people go away feeling that aggravation and you go away feeling a bit, well, you know, miserable. Or you can say, I've got a great opportunity meeting some people here and having a bit of fun. So just the whole business of social interaction, you're talking with them, having a bit of fun, you walk away, they feel good about it, you feel good about it. So that's the attitude I take. I like dealing with, I like people. So I'm, you know,
okay,
fortunate.
one last question before we check out some great memories of Peter Brock in action at Bathurst. The 05, tell us the story about that on the side of the car. It's the number.
Well, I think most people know that the probably the Ministry of Transport is going to change the blood alcohol level, the maximum level, the limit, from 0.08 to 0.05. And back in 1975, I began a government awareness campaign by running 05 on the side of my car, 0.05%. And now I think a lot of people are unaware that what it actually stands for. It's just like Brock drives 05. I mean, it's just like, that's just what happens. But it really is just a little reminder to people that if you are going to have a drink, keep it within those limits.
Excellent. Peter Brock joining us here live on 3 Sport with our Nissan Mobil special. The Mobil Man. He's given Mobil Lakers coach Jeff Green a few hot tips for this afternoon's celebrity race.
Interesting to see how he goes.
Of course, that message there for that race is drive to survive. And here is the man who's done it like no one else before, and the king of the mountain of Bathurst, Peter Brock. Peter Perfect.
Had a bit of a charmed life there, even at times when we've... I remember the first race in the old VK, where we had to use the stock standard rocker gear and valve train, etc. And the car was quite unreliable, and Larry and I debuted the car in Group A. And I remember we had a disastrous day, but we repaired the car as the day went on. We fiddled around it. We did everything but give it a valve grind, I think, during the race. Finished up 4th. I mean, it was astonishing.
Oh, I've been a teammate of Peter's going back 1982. We've won 3 Bathursts in a row together, where we've driven together, and I ran his team. I don't have the slightest problem. We've got a common goal. We both want to win a race.
We've raced a lot together in endurance races. We know that we can trust each other when it comes to, this is where I'm changing gears, this is what I'm doing, it seems a little better than that technique over there, and we pool our resources in that way. And a lot of times with race partnerships, there is that almost intangible head-to-head confrontation between the drivers as to who's the quickest. But if you can get that out of the way, get that ego problem out of the way, and get on with the business of saying, how are we going to win this race? Well, you know, you're a pretty good combination, and Larry and I have that.
Peter Brock, as he's coming down the Coca-Cola hairpin. And looks like he's got some form of tyre trouble.
I like it because it's a bit of a mean sort of track. It's difficult. It's not an easy, straightforward, I suppose, emasculated circuit. It's a circuit fraught with danger and drama. And we've seen over the years that it's one of the most unpredictable races of all time. Despite the fact that little BMs have got up, there has been a lot of drama as the day transpires. Now, sometimes it's the weather, sometimes it's the traffic, where you've got to try and negotiate the right line through traffic situations, and all of a sudden the gap's closed up in front of you, cars bounce off the wall, broken a wheel or something like that. The fact remains that it's a pretty open race. It's that sort of circuit.
Brocky, this is Oxton here. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Dave.
Well, that must have been a real blow there. The pedal just went soft on you, Brock. I guess just going into the corner, and you couldn't stop the back coming round, but you were lucky. Well, you did some pretty good back off there to stop hitting the wall.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've only got 3 brakes right now, Dave. I've got no right-hand front.
Look, it's handy when you've got a bloke like Dave Oxton asking the questions, because at least you know that if Dave is going to ask you a question, it's not a stupid one. You know, it's a pretty intelligent sort of question. And when you make a comment on something, he understands why you've arrived at that conclusion. So it tends to make it a little bit more predictable as far as the searching your brain for something intelligent to say. For a very short time, you can perhaps cover both conditions, the concentrating on the race and the gear shifting, the brake points, etc., and the traffic around you, and you can say a few words. But if it came to the fact that you wanted a half-hour commentary, forget it. It is too difficult.
Well, I think you have a hard enough job driving around here when you've got everything working for you. We'll leave you. Good luck making sure you make it to the end.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave.